Dan, for rookie minicamp, they were only giving television stations one credential, either for the photographer or for the reporter. And I had one, my photographer did not. But I was not about to give it up because Justin Fields in a Bears uniform for the first time, we've seen it. Practice or not, it means something. I'm Dionne Miller from ABC7. He's Dan Wiederer from the Chicago Tribune. Well, we have a quarterback and we have a schedule. Dan, football is coming the way it should be with a quality quarterback behind center.
Here is the good news about your photographer not being able to see Friday's practice. In the time that the cameras were allowed to be on at the practice fields at Halas Hall, Justin Fields did not throw a pass on the first day of Bears rookie camp practice. So you didn't miss anything, ABC7. We'll get that up the road. But you're right, Dan. It was really good to finally see Justin Fields in person on the practice fields in that orange Bears practice jersey, running around. And really, all we saw for a couple of days was some very basic stuff with the Bears trying to test him in ways that aren't exactly going to excite the fan base at this point. You know, can you study your playbook at night and come to the practice field the next afternoon and retain it? Can you call a play in the huddle with command? These aren't the types of things that get NFL films, documentaries made about them. But Justin Fields was out there. And I think for me, the first thing was just physically seeing him up close and seeing what 6'3", 230 in a quarterback's jersey looks like. And it's impressive. I'll admit it. It's impressive. He carries himself, as you may or may not know, in a past life, I covered college basketball. And there were two guys during my 7 years covering college basketball that I saw up close where you just stopped and said, athletically, that looks different. Derrick Rose, Blake Griffin. Those were the two guys that you sort of saw up close for the first time and were like, this guy's in a class of his own. Now, this is a different level, right? The NFL is a different level than college basketball transitioning in the NBA. But you see it already with Justin Fields in terms of the stature, in terms of the presence, in terms of the way he moves around athletically. You say, okay, I understand what all the buzz is about.
He looks the part, and his whole approach is business. And I think that was the one thing that echoed through the weekend with the other rookies that we got to talk to, is that he is all about business. And when he comes out and he's setting that tone in May in a practice jersey, like that says something to me. That says that he is there for a reason. And that's, I feel like what Pace saw, what Nagy saw, what everybody's seen is that he's ready to, that tells them he's ready to be that leader, maybe sooner than they even anticipated. Now, I was disappointed that he didn't throw a pass on Friday either. And I know they're trying to ease him in, but I liked his.
Well, he threw passes, just not for your camera.
Well, just not for the cameras. That's what I meant. Yes. Not for the 10 minutes we were allowed to see or however short it was. Yeah. But I like that they are, I guess, kind of trying to ease him in. But everything he said was the right thing, but you just felt like he could back it up. I mean, I feel like Mitch said the right things. You just knew he wasn't going to be able to execute that once you got to the field. There was a disconnect there. With Justin Fields, I don't feel that so far. Now, granted, again, I say setting that tone this early is reason to be excited.
Well, there's a couple differences here. Number one, Justin Fields has been a highly touted, highly regarded quarterback going back to the middle of his high school years. And so he's been dealing with the spotlight and the pressure and the intensity of that spotlight and the pressure forever. You play at a program like Ohio State, you play in a lot of big games with a lot of spotlights on you, with a lot of opportunities to test yourself and grow through the pressure. That was something Mitch Trubisky didn't come to Chicago with, right? He had only made that 1 year's worth of starts in Chapel Hill. And as a coach told us a few years ago, Mitch was the quarterback in North Carolina. He wasn't the point guard at North Carolina. Different spotlights.
Yes.
Correct. And so with Justin Fields, you have a guy who, in his own words, says, I'm built for this. I'm ready for this because I've been through similar experiences. Now, you and I both know that there's a long way from the first practice of rookie minicamp to the Hall of Fame induction speech in Canton, Ohio, well up the road. And so now on that long road that the Bears have to cross to get there, it's up to Matt Nagy, it's up to John DeFilippo, it's up to Bill Lazor, it's up to that staff collectively to put together a developmental plan that gets Justin Fields moving in the right direction. Step one, unseating Andy Dalton as the starter. We'll go from there. But right now, it's really just this early orientation process that, again, it's not exciting for fans when they say, what did you learn? What did you learn? You say, well, we haven't learned a whole lot yet.
No.
We're just getting him used to being in the practice field, calling plays in the huddle, and introducing himself to his new teammates, which at rookie minicamp is just a bunch of rookies. There's some veterans that are going to be in that huddle with him when OTAs start in June, and we'll see how he handles that next step.
Yeah, and I think that was the part that I did learn, was just how he handles things. I mean, I talked to some friends who are reporters in Columbus, and because of the pandemic, didn't really get to know him, right? So
Right.
they didn't know what his personality was like. So I was observing that from afar, like everybody else. But to see him in person, to see the way he was on the field, just I wish that Nagy would have been there when we could lay eyes on the two of them together. I mean, of course, that was a weird wrench that went into minicamp, but the fact that we didn't get to see that kind of makes me wonder, like, what's their dynamic really going to be like? But I feel good about the way that Fields entered minicamp. If you can feel good about that sort of thing, I think Bears fans should be encouraged. And by Sunday, Matt Nagy wasn't so. I guess he wasn't so. He almost left the door open. That look, if he beats Andy Dalton, if he's the best quarterback on the field, we are not going to hold him back. I didn't hear that. It felt like before they were like, no, this is the plan, and we're going to have to. He's going to have to fit into the plan, and we're going to just keep it. No matter what we see, we're going to stick with this plan. And I feel like maybe that's growth from Nagy, because I feel like in the past with Trubisky, they would run an offense. They say, this is what we're going to run. I know we can't do it, but we're going to keep running it. Well, maybe now they're like, okay, well, if he's showing that he's the best quarterback on the field, we might have to detour from our plan and set the Bears up to win.
Well, I think their plan is exactly the same as it was with Mitch, and it's for the guy that you invested highly in the draft to be your long-term answer at the position. Yeah. And that's why they continued to force the issue with Mitch, because the admission that he isn't your long-term answer is an admission of failure. And we've documented it here on this channel 100 times, how much of a failure it was that they didn't squeeze the most out of Mitch Trubisky and didn't get him to clear the hurdle of becoming their long-term answer at the position. Justin Fields comes to town with the same situation. The Bears are going to do everything within their power to make sure that this draft investment that they made, trading up to number 11 to draft him, pays off. The timeline of that is up for grabs. We don't know what the timeline of that is, and it's up to Justin Fields to sort of help them set that timeline with his own growth and development. I will say the things that you immediately see. Number one, for a guy that big to be as fast as he is, you say, boy, Matt can really do some things now with the playbook where you're designing run plays for your quarterback, right? Things that will help you on 3rd and 2, things that will help you down in the red zone when you need to get the ball in the end zone, where you don't have to get all tricky and creative. And you can just say, hey, we've got a 6'3", 230 quarterback. Let's get him out on the move, maybe give him an option out there, or just turn him loose as a runner, things that we've seen from other quarterbacks in this league, and let him use his speed and power to get us the first down, get us the touchdown. And then the one thing that we didn't see at rookie camp that I wanted to see more of was just the deep ball, because Justin Fields is an accomplished deep ball thrower. In college, you go back to his stats the last 2 years at Ohio State, number 1 in the Power 5 conferences in terms of air yards before the catch, the percentage of his passing yards that came before the catch, 70 and 72% in those 2 seasons at Ohio State. That tells you he's accomplished at throwing to all 3 levels of the field. I want to see a lot more of that. May have to wait until OTAs, maybe into minicamp, and then hopefully we get a more regular training camp at the end of the summer to see 6 weeks, right? That will then guide us toward a season. And oh, by the way, whoever thought that we would be dreaming of preseason football games again? But for the short term, it gives us another chance to see Justin Fields.
Please play football, please. No, you're exactly right. And I loved what he was saying about how he's digesting the playbook, that it's like old school index cards. Like that just, to me, that made me also realize a little bit more about him. Like he's already dedicated. This is his job now, and he gets it. And that is promising to see this early on. I really am excited for even how he will work with Andy Dalton and how he will kind of respectfully observe, because I think he will. He seems that type of guy that he's not going to come in and have an expectation, though he knows he can accomplish something. I think he is gonna take his time, because the Bears have allowed him to do that. But I agree with you. It's up to him to determine the timeline and we'll all know when he's ready, as Matt Nagy says, and I think it'll be pretty obvious from the practice field on.
And then, there's 6 other members of this rookie class. And I think as reporters, we're in agreement that there's some personality amongst this group, and there's some charisma that hopefully isn't lost as they, get themselves ingrained in an NFL locker room and they keep that youthful exuberance that they have. Teven Jenkins is a guy who's obviously showing a big personality. The Bears expect him to be their long-term answer at left tackle. That's a big question mark that also affects Justin Fields. How quickly can he get ready to play that all-important position on a reliable everyday basis? And obviously if he's able to, you see the type of sort of gregarious nature that this city will fall in love with instantly.
Oh, I love me some Teven Jenkins. I mean, he is just a delight, and I enjoyed his personality over minicamp and how he kind of very contrast to the way we saw Justin Fields carry himself. Like you can tell that Teven is having fun, but he's also very ferocious in the trenches. Like, you know, that you see it on tape, you see it in, he even admits it. Like he can be such a beast, and then he's just so fun and lighthearted. Like, he will be easy for fans to cheer for. And the two of them together, if they can figure out that rhythm and be on the same page, I think is going to be really great for the Bears long term. And yeah, I am a huge fan already. Even Dazz Newsome, I think, is a fantastic personality as well. He was fun to listen to, fun to talk to, and they've really shown that even over Zoom, which is tough to do. I mean, admittedly, you're talking to strangers, right? Like a big panel of all of our faces. They have no idea who we are, and there's one of them and 25 of us. Like, that's very intimidating. And I felt like a lot of these guys seemed ready for it.
We give out the Media Good Guy Award winner every year at the end of the season. For rookie camp, the winner so far has been Dazz Newsome, because as you mentioned, he comes to Zoom at rookie minicamp, and while he's taking questions, he says, before you ask me a question, Chicago, you have to give me a restaurant recommendation in the city that I can go check out. There was a long list of people willing to raise their hand, give some recommendations. I suggested, I asked him if he liked Italian, told him to go to Piccolo Sonio, great spot for those who haven't tried it. Where would you have recommended Dazz go if you had?
Well, if you're going Italian, La Scarola is probably my favorite. And then let's see, where else would I have sent him? I'm really blanking. How awful is that? Oh, I would have sent him to Gibson's.
There you go.
Easily Gibson's. Yes. And the one on the river, like not necessarily in the Gold Coast, but on the river where you can see everything. Chicago Cut is also very good. Yeah. I like Gibson's a little bit better.
You're talking about Gibson's on the river. I got you.
Yeah, Gibson's on the river, not Cut. Yeah, there's two Gibsons, you know.
I do know. And so the restaurant talk got up there. You know, one thing that Dazz Newsome said, he was very disappointed there's not Waffle Houses up here in Chicago, but he was asking, he said, where do y'all go when you need something to eat at 3 or 4 in the morning? And I said, better write this down in the notebook. Dazz is looking for places to eat at 3 or 4 in the morning. I'm sure there's going to be some talking points with some of the folks at Halas Hall about, maybe we don't need to be out at 3 or 4 in the morning. We'll see where that goes. We could give them some recommendations other than Waffle House. You know, there's always the Golden Nugget. You can always dip in there.
IHOP. Isn't IHOP 24 hours? We got IHOP. We don't have Waffle House though, do we? I've grown up all over, I've lived all over.
We do not. There are no Waffle Houses here. And I, I have background in Chapel Hill. So I asked him if he went to Time Out, which was a popular place on campus where a lot of people went when they had a little too much to drink and they would go to Time Out. And Dazz not only had been there, he listed out his whole order. It was nice to know. So anyway, colorful Dazz Newsome, welcome to Chicago. We'll continue to give you your restaurant recommendations.
He's tremendous. I want to go out. I just want to hang out with him at a restaurant. Like, that sounds fun.
We can't ruin these guys, and the Bears can't ruin these guys. You got to let these guys be who they are. Be you, right? That's the Matt Nagy model.
Yes.
Let them stay in this charismatic personality. Let's see how far we can take it. And if they can be charismatic and the Bears can win games, it's fun. Everybody has fun. Remember that? Remember when everybody could have fun watching the football team?
Remember fun, Dan? Do you remember? We have fun on our little weekly chit chats every time.
You have to. You have to have fun, right?
And I'm telling you, if drafting a quality quarterback can do that, I am up for fun any day of the week.
No question. And so the next step in that process, OTAs. The Bears canceled a week of OTA practices. We'll get more reasoning on why that happened in the weeks to come. But June 1st, I imagine you'll be back out there when the OTAs are allowed to happen again. We'll see more Justin Fields and veterans. Remember the veterans? Remember when we got to watch the veterans up close?
It's all very exciting. I missed it so much. And I know it's only a tiny window, but just standing there and watching, and it's just welcome back, one and all.
Correct. And we'll be back there again in the first week of June. And we will have more information for all these beautiful people that watch us all the time.
Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.